Hello friends, welcome back. Today we're going to access the JSON data from an API. In the previous challenge you saw how to get JSON data from the free CodeCamp cat photo API. Now you'll take a closer look at the returned data to better understand the JSON format. Recall some notation in JavaScript. So here we have square brackets, they represent an array, curly brackets which represent an object, and we have quotation marks which represent a string. They're also known for key names in JSON. Understanding the structure of the data that an API returns is important because it influences how you retrieve the values you need. On the right, click the Get Message button to load free CodeCamp cat photo API JSON into the HTML. So when we click here, you'll see that it loads this stuff up. The first and the last character you see in the JSON data are square brackets. So you'll see here's a square bracket and here's a square bracket. This means that they return data in an array. The second character in the JSON data is a curly bracket, which starts an object. So here you have an object. And it goes to here. So that's 1 with an ID of 1. Here's another object with an ID of, that one was the ID of 0, this is 1, and then this is 2. So there's 3 objects within this JSON array response. Looking closely, you can see that there are 3 separate objects. The JSON data is an array of 3 objects, where each object contains information about a cat photo. You learned earlier that objects contain key value pairs that are separated by commas. In the cat photo example, the first object has an ID of 0. First photo has an ID of 0, where ID is the key and 0 is the corresponding value. Similarly, there are keys for image link, alt text, and code names. Each cat photo object has the same keys, but with different values. Another interesting key value pair is the first object in code names. And then within the code names, this is the key code names, and then the value is an array with 3 different words in them: Juggernaut, Miss Wallace, and Buttercup. Here, codenames is the key, and its value is an array with 3 strings. It's possible to have arrays of objects as well as a key with an array as a value. Remember how to access data in arrays and objects. Arrays are bracket notation to access a specific index of an item. Objects use either bracket or dot notation to access the value given to the property. Here's an example that prints the alt text for the first cat photo. Note that parsed JSON data in the editor is saved in a variable called JSON. Okay, so here console log, if we were to note that the parsed JSON data in the editor is saved as a variable called JSON. Okay, so here we've got JSON at position 0. So this is an array at position 0, 1, 2. And so position 0, we're looking at this object. And now in this object, we're looking for alt text. So it's this guy. So what would this log? This would log the alt text. So it would log this string right here. A cat wearing a green helmet. A cat wearing a green helmet. For the cat with the ID of 2, print to the console the second value in the codenames array. Codenames array. Okay, this for the cat with the ID of 2. So here we've got the cat with the ID of 2. Print to the console the second value in the codenames. So we've got codenames. And so yeah, I'm just going to start writing this out because console.log, what do we want to say? We're going to say JSON. And then I'm going to run this again just so I can see it. Yeah, well, this is position 0, this is position 1, this is position 2. So we want to do JSON at position 2. And then we want to do, yeah, I'm going to run it again just so I want to be able to show you this. This should use bracket and you should use bracket and dot notation on the object. Okay, so we've just used bracket notation to get the position at 2. And we need to find code names here. So to do code names, we'll just go dot code names. And now if we'll see that we have we're using dot notation here and bracket notation here. But they say that we want the second value in the codenames array with the ID of 2. Okay, so there's the Doctor, Loki, or Joker. So we want to name Loki. And so here we could use either bracket or dot notation. No, I think we need to do that. So we want the second one, which is at position 0 or at position 1. Run the tests. Cool. And that worked. Come on, print it out here. Enter HTML. Let's spread this out. That's a simple way of doing it. We're logging to there. Yeah, see, I think it's weird that they ask you to console log it here. I mean, if we wanted to, we could say, we could get another one like our interest string value, like put an ID, useful programmer. And then instead of doing this, we could go get element by ID, useful programmer. And then we can go dot inner, this needs to be by ID. So I'm getting the useful programmer one, and then we're going to the inner HTML, and we can set that equal to the JSON at this guy. Let's see if we run the test, that should pop up. Get elements by ID, it needs to be element by ID. Run the page. Document.get element by ID. Yeah, we can't have that there. Run the tests. Cool. And so Loki is what's coming out. We're console logging Loki right here. And we're also actually rendering it to the page here so we can actually see what we're doing. So of this object, this 3-part object, or this 3-part array, we selected the object with the ID of 2. And then we've gone in and checked the code name, and we selected Loki to be entered into here. So that's a success. I wonder if doing that threw off the tests. It didn't, so that's good to know. The only thing you had to do there was console log, but I wanted to just show you how to do that anyways. And yeah, there's obviously a few things that we could do here. We could refactor this to use ES6. This will work exactly the same way. It's not really important though, because this is kind of a messy looking thing anyways. Same thing here. This would be perfectly fine to do, and probably would be refactoring your code is always kind of a good thing to do if you can make it happen and test to make sure it's working. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll see you in the next one.